to the sounds of Urban X.
So I watched the documentary on Netflix, Who Killed Malcolm X. It was like 6 parts, right? And I'm not gonna lie, some of it was interesting because even myself, I forgot the timeline on a lot of things that was happening, especially like the last year of his life.
Right.
That's crazy. I wrote a paper on the last year of his life in college. That was like one of my senior papers. But it was interesting because I'm gonna tell you why I found it interesting. Because I was talking to you, this was like off mic, like weeks ago, maybe months ago, and I said, isn't it interesting the way people are just all of a sudden kind of like reintroducing Malcolm X into the conversation? Like, it's debates happening over here, it's Godfather of Harlem, they're talking about him. You get what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
A lot of these
and then revisited history and so many different narratives.
Yeah, the NOI people, brothers are coming out, they talking about it. So I'm just like, what's going on? And then this comes out, and I think now, okay, it makes sense. Right. They probably knew this was coming down the pipe.
Yes, because this was worked on for a while, and this was put together very well.
Yeah, it was. Apparently, there was some disparities on this documentary was based off a book by, I forgot the guy's name.
I know his name is on the tip of my tongue, and
Manning Marable.
Yeah, Manning Marable.
Yes, and some people said, like, because he wrote a book on Malcolm X, and a lot of people said it was full of lies. There was another book that was actually a response to that book.
I believe it was the Judas Factor. If maybe the people in the chat can tell me, but there's another book that counters a lot of this information.
Yeah.
So remember, just because it's a documentary, there's still ways to paint the picture of a documentary to steer a certain narrative.
That's a fact,
right? Because somebody sent me some documents that counters a lot that we just saw in the documentary.
Gotcha.
And it was actual footage of some stuff, and it just made you wonder. Now, is it my turn to speak on this?
Yeah.
All right. First of all, Malcolm X is the most realest motherfucker. That's all I can say.
I thought you was going to go educated, intellectual.
But the most realest motherfucker United States may have ever seen, in terms of he was bout it. And what I mean by that is he literally, his level of discipline, intelligence, his ability to galvanize was like none other, right? He wasn't a fake leader who behind the scenes you could add a little money to. So when we speak about messianic energy, we spoke about it during the Kobe situation. I thought Bruce Lee had a messianic energy because he was a DJ. People don't know. He did karate. He hung out with black people. He was a philosopher, and he was gone. You know what I'm saying? And he mastered his craft.
Right.
So when we spoke about Kobe, again, he mastered his craft. He was an Oscar winner. He spoke certain languages. He played piano, blah, blah, blah. Then he was gone.
Right.
Malcolm also represented that messianic energy in terms of one who could galvanize a nation. Right? So, and with that energy being as pure as it was, when I turn to my definition and I start thinking about a powerful person who I would want to mirror and I would want to use as a physical example of one who was dealing with Christ consciousness. Yes? I think of Malcolm X. So I want to lay that out into the thought stream as we begin to understand the many layers that needed to be peeled back to figure out who killed him. And I'm going to stick by what I said last week. There are a lot of moving parts. Now, this documentary was great. I didn't learn anything new in the documentary. I knew about Bradley from Jersey. I knew about that. You know what I mean? Somebody had already in the conscious community gave us all that. Could have been Professor James Smalls. I forget who it was.
Well, we actually said the name here on the show on the show last week.
Oh, okay.
Remember somebody put it in the chat. I was like, oh, okay.
Right. So, and I thought the FBI involvement when J. Edgar Hoover, who I call Gay Edgar Hoover,
he was the devil,
was like, do something about Malcolm. So when we think about Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm's relationship, a father and son relationship, right? Malcolm's fathers took him from him years ago. He was a Garveyite, and we know he was murdered under suspicious conditions. They put his mother in a asylum, and they used to do that. That was the way. If they couldn't put you in a prison, they put you in an asylum. They don't talk about what's his sister's name, Elsie or Ellis, his actual sister from Boston, who was very powerful political, the one who got him into the Nation of Islam stuff. You know what I mean? And financed a lot of the things he went through. So that aspect was missing from the documentary. So this relationship between Elijah and Malcolm, right? A father and son relationship where Malcolm took the teachings literally.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So he was so disciplined, they said this motherfucker needed a piece of candy. They said when they cut his body open for the autopsy, he had the cleanest insides they had ever seen. So this was a disciplined spiritual man who took the teachings literally. Right?
Right.
To the point where even Elijah Muhammad was like, God damn, nigga, this is how we do our thing, nigga, but God damn, right? So because Elijah was the teacher, right? Let's not diminish Elijah Muhammad's presence in this man's life. He was the teacher. But everybody who has the knowledge doesn't have the ability to convey or orate the knowledge.
Right.
So this is what Malcolm X, because
charisma.
All of his sons, none of them had the charisma to take it literally and move and galvanize the people and open up mosques all around this country.
One thing I did learn about in this doc was how much money they were making.
Oh, they was making money.
I didn't realize they were making so much money.
Oh, they was caking.
I didn't realize like that kind of like how one thing trickled down to the other. Like Malcolm, his being out there like boosted up membership, and that created businesses, and that
created opportunities
for a lot of people.
For a lot of people who never.
I didn't realize that.
All right, so now, along with organizations, and the reason I don't join any organizations is because they start out great. Everybody wants to get together and change the world, and then the bullshit kicks in.
Right.
Because of jealousy, hierarchy, this, that. I don't think Elijah Muhammad had an issue with Malcolm X in the beginning. I just don't. I thought he saw, okay, this is my national spokesman. Look at what he's doing around the country. Sure, I'm the source, the spiritual source of the information. I'm a little older, a little sicklier, you know what I mean? But here I got a young, fiery, you know what I mean? But there are other people.
And it's not like he never gave homage. He like
that's
the
all
way
he did.
The way he spoke about him is just like
and you know, when you think about the autobiography and other books, I truly believe he would have gave his life for Elijah Muhammad. Yeah. Now, the power that Malcolm possessed, you had never seen a black man talk to white people like that.
Right.
The reason he could do that is because he had an entire nation behind him. Let's not get it fucked up.
Yeah.
He didn't come out on his own talking like that, because then they would have clapped his ass in an alleyway a long time ago, right? So him understanding how structure works and the FOI, and I got this whole nation behind me, I can step on these platforms with the backing of Elijah Muhammad and the nation and put in work. And really look this white man in his face and tell him he is the goddamn devil. Right?
Right.
Now I'm going to get to the last year of his life.
Right.
Right? When that was removed from him, now he was on his own and realized when you give the core of yourself to something, everything to it, and it is pulled out from under you, you are in a tailspin. And he was in a tailspin. So he became uncharacteristic, and even his behavior, you know what I'm saying, exposing certain things about the nation. That's some snitch shit. You know what I mean?
Some of that
some snitch shit. I gotta keep it a buck, right?
Some of the footage, because I've always like read on him, but some of the footage of him actually going out, it looked like one of the debates that sounded.
It looked like some Sonata shit, right?
Yeah, I was like, whoa, he really going at him.
He's going at him. He's
empty in the clip.
Like he was desperate at that point.
Right.
So he was desperate. So
I never saw it framed that way.
Right. Got you. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I thought that was interesting. What else did I find interesting? What else? What else?
And as we got closer and closer to his demise, with them firebombing his house,
what was
they try to say he burned his own house, and even that came out of Elijah Muhammad's mouth at the end. And you know that wasn't true. That's all he had was this house.
What I found interesting about this was that it's the way they framed Elijah Muhammad and the way they framed the people who were still loyal to him to this day bugs me out.
Oh, no, yes. Them cats in Jersey?
Yeah.
Yo, they on a square. Like, yo, Malcolm, fuck Malcolm. You know what I mean?
Like after all this time?
Yeah, after all this. And see, that's another thing that troubles me. I am not, it's above my spiritual pay grade. What I mean by, for me to add my 2 cents and say, dude, shouldn't that man's name be reinstated into the Nation of Islam Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Just like you leave a team and y'all leave on bad terms,
yeah.
and after you retire,
what's his name that's back with the Michigan after the Fab Five?
Yeah.
Juwan Howard.
Yeah, Juwan. They roll your shit up.
Yeah.
They after all this time, and y'all talking atonement and forgiveness and all of this spiritual jargon, no one has caped to have Malcolm's name restored back into the Nation of Islam Hall of Fame. That bothers me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we can't judge the last year of Malcolm's life when he was desperate. Now, let's get to the killing, right?
Yes.
Once Malcolm started becoming an international player and started meeting with people internationally.
Which was a chess move after he'd been playing checkers.
Right. He was playing checkers, and then he started playing chess.
Yes, he started realizing, like, okay, I have to start, my circumference has to get a little wider.
Right, and I got to come back and double back around to the civil rights movement, to the people I had, alienated. And now say, listen, this is what I'm trying to do, is when the government knew, all right, so the CIA, FBI, NOA, or NOI, all of that, everybody is complicit to some degree, and you know what I'm saying? And a lot of people died behind that too.
Yes.
Like that guy, the actual minister of the mosque in Jersey.
Yes. I know what you're talking about.
They cut his head off.
Yes.
So there was a lot of wars going on, and the reverberation of this. And so I think
my grandmother was actually there that day.
Yeah, your great grandmother was in the building. Yeah. She was there that day when Malcolm. And I had to name you that. We already had Marcus. You know what I'm saying? With Marcus Garvey, we had to go Malcolm next. And you know what I mean? So these are some of the things. So when we start talking about who actually killed him, there are a lot of different players.
So what was clever, I guess, about this, they said who killed him. They were actually talking about the gunman, but they
innuendo.
Yes, they alluded to a lot of people who had their hands.
And I think that's
dirty.
What made the documentary great.
Yes.
For those who are just getting up on who Malcolm X is.
Yes.
Right, and just getting up on Malcolm's life and his whole story.
Yes.
This was a great shot. And then again, even some of this story is disputed. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, the people sent me some emails.
Yeah. And
that kid Butler, who they said was not there and all of that, and he had nothing to do with it. I saw some photos that this motherfucker was there. So and like here, circle, that's him. Mm. You know what I mean? So there are many layers to this, and I'm hoping that when people revisit the story now, and young people who didn't know who Malcolm was can get the full story of this, but it's not going to change anything in this day and time. So my vision was
they actually reopened. They're reopening up.
Reopening the case. I saw it in the Daily News.
Why?
The day the documentary was released, the Daily News ran a piece that said we are now reopening.
Why?
This case.
Why do you think?
Who knows? Who knows? Malcolm is. I mean, he's a polarizing figure. He ain't bought. When you think of pure energy encased in a person, you have to think Malcolm.
I also want to talk about the people.
Dr. King was sniffing cocaine and fucking white women.
Yeah, that happened.
That happened.
So I also want to talk about the people who think they're going to get extra brownie points or sound extra smarter by trying to go back and revise history. And
not gonna do it.
No, because there are a lot of people. That's how people get famous on Twitter. That's how people get names, because they come out and say, Malcolm was this, or was.
What was disturbing was all of them people in Jersey knew William Bradley was walking amongst the people because he is considered a hero in certain circles. See, when you put in work for the minister, and he was a government informant.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Because there's no way
for sure
his documents could be protected like that, and we couldn't get around to who he was. So we do know, and once you are a government informant, you get money, you get protection, and so yes.
For sure.
But he is a hero. Some even put him in a higher place than Malcolm, because he handled the work and did something that, so very interesting. Very.